All right, take two. And so it is. I am going to. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is perfect. So phones are so much easier. And now that I'm on my phone, I can get right in. And I'm adding you, Lonnie. This is great. And I'll just start over. Lonnie, there you
Hi. It took a little bit of
are.
time, but we got
Oh,
it.
thank you so much for your patience and me trying to figure out technology.
It's no problem. I know that sometimes it can be hard to navigate. I really was surprised that there was so much of a difference between the PC and the phone version of this.
I know. It was such a difference, and like it didn't have, for some reason the phone is so simple. It's like here's a click, here's that. And then when it comes to the computer, there's just so much more information that it's overstimulating to me. Yeah.
So take two.
So
How are you
take,
doing today?
oh my gosh, I'm wonderful. Look at this mug.
Oh, that's super cool.
It's so beautiful. So I'll reintroduce and say, welcome to Transmutation Proclamation. Every other week, we talk about practices and how we can live a more fulfilling life, how we can just release what we no longer need, how we can gain better views, better perspective, better self love, all of the things that is super utopian and ideal is still possible. We can gain those, and yeah, we go through struggles, but it can get easier and easier by doing practices. And so I started this page so that we can share practices. Like, this is for free, sharing practices. And of course some people need an extra umph, and it's like I need like extra guidance, and I offer that. But I created this page so we can share, and we can relate, and we can guide each other, and we can support each other. And last week was about childhood,
Oh,
and
nice.
I just went to the zoo with Tangier Lloyd. I did an interview with her, and it was amazing. And that was the first time I met her, like face to face. We went to the zoo together, and so this week is about breath. And Lonnie, I was talking, asking you like how you doing, what's going on, and you said you were starting this like presentation for amazing causes that I want you to get into, and the title is "Breathe with Me," right?
Yes. Uh,
And I said, breathe with me. That's what we're talking about this week. We're talking about breath and breathing, and where to breathe in the proper places, and how to breathe, and different techniques. And I thought it would be amazing, my old friend, to come on and tell your story, and tell what breathe with me means to you, and then getting into different breathing techniques that you work on. So without further ado, Lonnie, my old friend.
well, I have to say, first off, I'm very grateful that you invited me to come and do this. And I think that it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. I've actually been working on things like that myself over here in Illinois. And being an advocate for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, I get a lot of chances to talk to people and to share tools that I've learned throughout the years of dealing with things that I have myself. So you actually released a video recently. Um, I can't remember what day it was, but it was a few days ago, and you actually spoke about how no matter where you start and what has been going on in your life, you can find a way to better yourself and push through those boundaries and those barricades that you set for yourself and become better. And I thought, man, that is 100% in line with what I'm doing. So when you reached out to me, that was it was a perfect timing kind of thing. And so Breathe With Me it was titled Um, a good friend of ours, a fellow musician in town here a few years ago, actually had passed away in a storm. And I went to a celebration of life, which ended up being sort of like an open mic where musicians from the area could come and play. And they had a little donation bowl in the front of the stage. So I walked in and read a little bit about him because I didn't know so much about this person myself. Um, but as a musician, I felt like it would be a good thing to do to go and show my support. And I learned like one or two of the songs that he used to play and played them. And I noticed that his mom and sister were in the audience and they were bawling, you know, by the time I was done playing those songs. And his mom had to be helped out of the room. And I remember I got off stage and I found his sister first, who was crying like uncontrollably. And I went up and I gave her a hug and I said, I want you to breathe with me for a second, okay? And I just took a deep breath with her, and then she was able to talk. She was able to collect herself enough to speak about her feelings, and she actually had thanked me for playing those songs because it was a happy memory that they had of him. And I went and talked to her mom and did the same thing. I gave her a hug and I said, breathe with me, and did the deep breath. And so, I mean, that's just linear breathing, but like that's what it is you're reaching out in a way to comfort someone. And when it comes to breathing, something that I learned from my mentor, Jay Shetty, actually, I don't know if you've heard of him or not, but he's a person that had grown up in the city and wanted, you know, his parents would tell him that he needed to be a doctor or a lawyer. And so he got into like business stuff, but he got into like really poor habits and things like that. And he actually met this Buddhist monk and listened to him speak. And so this touched him so much that he went over and he spent 7 years in a monastery, learned all about you know, being at peace and being of service, and came back and he is making wisdom go viral. And so one of his things that he had shared was that there was an 11-year-old boy teaching one of the classes, and for 30 minutes all they were doing is breathing. And he asked the boy, he said, was there anything more to this? Did I miss something? And the boy said, no. This was all about just breathing. And Jay was like, okay. And the boy said, well, the one thing that stays with you from the time that you're born to the time that you die is your breath. And if you can learn to navigate that, you can learn to navigate pretty much anything else that comes up in your lifetime. So he was actually the one that came up with, had showed me the box and triangle breathing. And so I would like to pass that on to you. My story, as far as dealing with working with suicide prevention and anti-depression things, when I was married as opposed to right now, I was a completely different person. I was pretty consistently angry, very easily spun up, and I was not very nice to my kids. I wasn't very nice to anybody that was around me, and I was very ashamed of that. And when me and my wife had separated, there was a particular situation where I was I was disciplining my daughter, Autumn, and my ex had like yelled at me, like, what are you doing? Maybe you should take a break. Like you're acting like an effing monster. Like, what is wrong with you right now? And I remember that hit pretty hard. And I finally, like, that kind of like pulled me back into myself. And I thought about what I had done. And I was like mortified that I'd become this person. And, you know, but it didn't stop there. I had a problem with drinking. And so I kind of, instead of just learning from that and like taking that and moving forward with it, I kind of went into a downward spiral and started thinking of like all of the bad things that I had said or done, and all of the negative speak that I had heard, and it just kind of came crashing in on me. And so I had that night attempted suicide with pills, and I looked up the lethal dosage of it, and I took 3 times that much while I was drinking hard liquor. And the only thing that I could think, the only way that I could think of to make up for the things that I had done was to kill it. And so, fortunately, I woke up the next day. Fortunately, I discovered the storyteller, Jay Shetty. And fortunately, I learned how to move forward and become better. And many people don't get the opportunity to have a second chance at life and being a better parent. There was a really high risk chance that I could have, traumatized my kids in a way that they wouldn't want to talk to me anymore. I mean, they were just little, and or they could have given them some sort of complex to where there wouldn't be any coming back from that. And luckily, I'm grateful that afterward, I was able to catch myself and think a little bit more about the person I wanted to be and the father that I wanted to be. And, it was then last year, after I started all this last year, I actually sat down with both of them and I apologized. I finally got the courage to sit and apologize and tell them, what I did was wrong. And I made that promise that I'm going to always try to be better and always try to be more peaceful. And so with breathing and when you're learning to do those things, I thought I had so much that I didn't know, so much wisdom that I still had to learn. And so I did this huge, like probably a year's worth of just researching and looking at things and trying to figure out different ways to help instead of hurt. And while I had done these things that were negative in the past, now I can use my new chance to help somebody in the future and maybe prevent somebody from going down that road where they would be sitting in their car, drinking and thinking of ending their negative streak in that really sad way. And so I became an advocate with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I started writing songs that were aligned with that. And the thing that I want to share with you today is the triangle and box breathing, because what those two things do is it helps you deal with, in meditation, it helps you deal with anxiety and when you feel like you're kind of spinning out of control, bringing yourself back into a peaceful space, and then also focus. Because when your mind, what they do, so there are 4 types that I'm aware of, like with the shapes, right? There's linear breathing, which is just normal breathing, where you're breathing in and out through your nose or your mouth, and because it's just a straight line in. And then there's the circular breathing, where if you work out or become an athlete, you become aware of circular breathing right away, which is just in through your nose, not through your mouth. And that's more for like temperature regulation. And but then there are these other 2. And so box breathing is, you have to picture 4 sides in a square. Okay. And so everything in this is 4. You take a deep breath in for a count of 4, and then you hold it for a count of 4, and then you release for a count of 4, and then rest for 4. And then triangle breathing, you breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, and then release for a count of more than 4. And then back in. And so what those 2 do, the box breathing and the triangle breathing, it aligns your body and your mind. because you're doing that counting. And so it's not so much a physical exercise as it is a mental one. And um, you notice that when you're doing that with the box breathing, it helps you focus because it helps you um, remember where everything is around you. And with the triangle breathing, you're actually, the practice with meditation is to breathe in through your nose the positive energy, and then out through your mouth all the negative energy. And so you're symbolizing breathing out more negative than the positive that you're bringing in. And so what that does is that actually lowers the stress level in your body, and that brings you to a place where you can be more even. Um, those things have helped me in so many circumstances to um, get a grip on like what's going on, and to remind myself like, here I am. That keeps me from overreacting. I've been so mellow for the last 2 years. It's unreal. Uh, People come up, if I were to introduce swim at a open mic or at a show or something, I'd have people coming up and shake my hands like, oh, I really appreciate what you're doing. That song, it really means a lot. And I'm really glad that you're still alive and you can do the work that you're doing. And, people say, oh, he's such a good guy. I'm like, man, I was not like this always. And so that's where we are today. And so,
how often do you practice? Is it like every morning, every night, when you want to? Like, what's your schedule kind of like with the practicing?
So with the breathing exercises, what that ends up becoming, you start off doing it every morning. You'll do a meditation and you'll practice that for like 8 minutes. One or both of them, you can do one or the other, um, or both of them at the same time. And you do that every morning, and you develop that habit of doing it. And then what you end up doing is you set it into because now your body's kind of aligned with your mind in that regard. Then every time there's a situation where you feel like the stress level rising and you feel like you might overreact or uh, uh, lose your cool, you can switch to that and bring yourself back down.
And what I like about that is like you're also becoming more, when practicing awareness with the breath, it almost allows you, well, it definitely allows you to be aware of other things, like what you're about to feel, like the on stages of, I'm feeling a little intense or stressed, so let's breathe it. And then when you're breathing it, you're pushing that out. And that's really nice. That's like I see the image of that, and that sounds and feels really nice, to get that understanding, to practice it, and to use the images that work with it. So I like how you said breathing in the positive, pushing out the negative more.
Absolutely.
And you said you've been practicing this for a couple years now?
Yes. Yeah, I started 2 years ago. I learned it probably 2017. The summer of 2017 was when the attempted suicide happened. I actually started following Jay Shetty um, a little bit later, probably the fall of 2017. So the beginning of 2018 is when I actually learned that and started working with that. So I mean, I guess it's been probably closer to 3 years now. So.
And when did you start feeling the like effects? When were you like, oh wow, I am consciously aware that there is a difference?
So when you first learn it and you start thinking about that, it's kind of one of those things when you start to meditate, you don't like for the first couple of weeks, you don't even really like understand what's going on with you. And you're like, okay, I just sat here and breathed for like 20 minutes. Like, okay, cool. I'm going to go about my day. And like, you don't even notice the difference, the changes that it makes until probably about like it took me probably a whole month before I even started recognizing what was going on. And it was just last year when 2020 happened. Started doing it a lot more because there really wasn't a whole lot of other things to do. and there was a lot more. There were a lot more things that would cause stress or negative feelings, and so I kind of had to do it more in order to kind of get by in the day. And it was then that I realized, like, I heard triangle breathing and box breathing. That didn't even occur to me that there were four sides to the box, and that's why everything's four, and you're doing everything as a flat four. And then the triangle breathing, you're breathing in four, holding four, and out for like seven, and that's a triangle. I'm like, wow, that took me a lot longer than I'm comfortable with admitting sometimes. So
Oh, wow. It's really like talking to you right now, your energy feels really good. And like just having this conversation, being able to connect with you face to face on here, I'm sensing like such a calm energy with you, and it's so amazing because you describe how much you've been through, and just like the turmoil of allowing like life to really turn into something negative and then changing it into something positive. And as we know, and as I say, you get out what you put in. And
right,
so you are a perfect example of showing that you are getting out what you're putting in. You are putting in your practice. And it's like brushing your teeth. Like,
right.
you start doing it every day, eventually, you're gonna have white pearly teeth. Like, you take care of your teeth every day, or you take a shower, or whatever it is. It starts getting ingrained in second nature into your daily life, and then it doesn't seem like, oh yeah, I have to do that. Shoot, it's a chore. It seems more like I am just doing it, and it's a part of my daily routine.
Yeah, it becomes one of those subconscious things that you don't even, after a while, you don't even recognize that you're doing it for a while, and it becomes like an automatic response. And that's something that I really feel that that's the goal then, is if you can do that, then you'll notice that a lot of different situations, just like the 11-year-old boy in the Buddhist temple said, if you can navigate your breath, you can navigate anything that comes up in your life.
It's amazing what the kind of connections that we start to see when it comes to just breath. Like, oh, I'm just practicing breath, but now like A and Z are forming a line. Like, they connect, right? I'm just practicing breath, but now like I'm not taking in all this negative energy that the world is experiencing right now from chaos, or I'm just taking a breath, but now like the guy who cut me off and is yelling at me doesn't bother me anymore. It's things that you wouldn't even realize connect and have such an impact on just taking a breath.
I am practicing breath, and I'm practicing uh, patience. I'm practicing better communication and processing pain. There's so many things. I mean, that's absolutely true, and it is a wonderful thing.
Do you find that as you're practicing, like all of a sudden, like you'll you feel a release, or a memory will come up that you need to breathe out? It's
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh yes, that happened, I remember that, I'm gonna breathe that out. And it's like just kind of unraveling and untangling a knot that we were conditioned into.
yeah, and a lot of that. I mean, honestly, like what I've learned from a lot of those things, like you said, conditioned into, a lot of that is generational conditioning that we've had growing up. I mean, we grew up in the same town. You are well aware of like the mentality that was just generally like um, around that entire area, and everything was set around that town. And if it was outside, it wasn't good, And so there were a lot of people that stayed, uh, and they stayed longer. And the history for small towns is you're there until you die. You'll grow up there and you'll die there. And I think it's wonderful to see that so many of us got out of it. And like, uh, it's so. I mean, that in itself are things that we would need to practice getting rid of. I mean, I think we've been doing a pretty good job so far. If I had to share my opinion on it, um, but yeah, a lot of people that I talked to that grew up with us, um, so much better, doing so much better for themselves. Even just feeling better. And that's the start of everything else, because you can be more confident. And then you start thinking, you start loving yourself more. And so you start to do the things that'll make you more healthy, that'll make you more happy in your life. And so the restrictions that we had from growing up in that small town aren't so binding anymore, you know. So.
Yes, yeah. It's like a way to say I recognize that this is what how I was living through learned behavior and so on and so forth, and now I can actually stop it there. Now I can actually say, well, I was going down this route and I'm going to take a turn because this is the path of least resistance. This is the path that makes the most sense. This is the path that feels more aligned with like our true inner being and a healing. And yeah, that's it's so wonderful. It feels so good. And I know that you have, you know, you're working with the suicide prevention and you're releasing music. And can you like explain a little bit more about what's coming up for you?
Okay, so I do have the Breathe With Me special, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more in detail about my story working through the suicide and the attempted stuff. And there's going to be some more of that added in. It gets pretty gritty, so like I would definitely recommend it if you're not somebody who is very easily emotionally triggered. But then what happens is then I explain, you know, what we're doing, and I do explain the breath and then how that helps a little bit more in detail. Um, so as far as the music goes, um, we are currently working on the development stages of our song Swim, which is going to be released sometime probably a little bit later this year, and we're going to have a music video with it and everything. And I just picked up a director for that early last week, and we've got all the sites for the scenes secured, and the storyboard's pretty much almost done. I just need to get a few more pictures and include it in there, and then I'll be ready to go. And we found the studio that we want to record it in, and we have all the members that are going to be actually recording the audio part of that. And so that is going to be uh, our actual first legitimate music video release. And the object there was to emotionally traumatize anybody that watches it, right? So like there's gonna, because what that is um, it's to illustrate the seriousness and like uh, how how much of a thing suicide is today, right now. Every year, 1.4 million people on average attempt suicide, and in 2020 that went up 1,000%. So you're talking 14 million instead of 1.4, and at the what was it 1 in 14 that actually like succeeded with it, um, that became its own pandemic too. And working with the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, I've been able to contact state legislature and work with Congress in making moves to help people that are going through situations like that. For instance, right now it's in the works to come up with a 3-digit phone number like 911, but specifically for that, so that they don't have to remember this whole 10-digit thing in order to get some help. And so the
Amazing.
song is to let people know you are strong enough when you feel like you're in that deep dark water in your brain. You are strong enough, you have the ability to get out of that, and you have somebody that is going to be there to hold your hand while you swim for your life.
And then you get stronger when you're swimming and you
Okay.
get people supporting you, and then next thing you know you're floating because you have so much support and love. But I like, and I see a theme when you were explaining how, you know, you were on this rocky road, and then realization comes of how it is, and like then it dives you into a hole of like, oh, there's a lot of realization, but that realization is just like, it feels horrible and it tears you apart, but it's also a way to like restructure yourself. And I see that a lot, and I see that theme. It's like, okay, here's reality meeting meeting where my consciousness is, and then like now let's just fall apart so we can put ourselves back together again. And so it's at that point where it's even more important to like just like hang in there and realize that there is support out there. There's always support no matter where you're at on it, but also know that it'll get better. It'll get better, and that like amazing people like yourself are pushing through to find new ways of support. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more like on the discoveries and the unveiling of of what you're doing in the world. And so like how can people find the songs when they come out, Spotify or whatever? How can
Yeah,
find
all of our songs so far get released on Spotify. The ones that are out right now currently are all on Spotify, YouTube, pretty much any streaming platform that you prefer. I'm not really sure if it's on Pandora because I've never looked for it yet, but it is on YouTube. And we have a Reverb Nation profile, which has a couple of our more independently recorded stuff that was, we actually did it over on a Rock Band microphone, and had a little like stand and did it on like a computer with a really cheap recording software. But so that was 2 of those songs released. If you wanted to have the special edition for those, we have Kerosene and Matches and Washing Wounds with Whiskey that are on there as well. So
okay, so when we finish, will you be able to type it in the chat box,
oh, here.
and so if people can find you and if they want to connect and see how they can be how they can support and be on your advocacy team and learn a little bit more about how to support others, learn a little bit more about your story, if they want to reach out to you, Lonnie, about the breathing techniques that have helped you, and just to talk to Lonnie, see what's up. Lon. Do you like Lon? Sometimes I call you Lon. Sometimes Lonnie. Sometimes Lano. It seems like you like Lano on your feed. But what nicknames do you like?
You know, my preference is Lano, just because the way that my name is spelled is very misconceived for Lonnie, and it's actually Lon, and so like the N and the Y at the end of it was actually supposed to always be silent, and so Lano is actually like that, and then just like the little tag in the end. But Lon is fine. You know, it's almost endearing when you say it. So I mean, I just.
You don't mind, huh? Hey, Mary Beth, Rose, how are you? Yeah, thank you so much for your support. Is there anything else that you'd like to add in? Anything else you would like to say and that will help someone, and whatever you feel free before we head out. Thank you for putting that stuff in there. And I do, if you're okay, I do post these on YouTube, and I want to share as much as possible for the world.
That's perfectly fine. Yeah. The only thing that I would want to say is that for those of you guys that are watching, nobody makes it 100% on an even field. Nobody hits the ground running all the time. You're going to run into, life is like a roller coaster, right? There are peaks and then there are dips. And you have to understand that you spend more of the time in the middle than any of the others. And so when you feel like you're so low, it's only going to be for a short time. Just as it is when you're super happy. But know that you can get back up there again. It will get back up there again. And before you drink yourself into a coma, or you go and drive really fast and dangerously in your car, when you're upset, take a moment and breathe before you suffer too much from the loss, or before you punish yourself too much for your mistakes. Remember to breathe and know that your story's not over, and neither is your growth. And growth will not happen unless there's discomfort. So you have to remember that. But I love you guys. Laura, thank you so much for inviting me today. This was so much fun, and I'm so glad that I got a chance to talk to you.
Thank you so much for joining. I know it was like last minute, but it's really beautiful to share your story. To see, I haven't seen you in so long. I know I was in Illinois for a minute, but um, I got my little Ford Fiesta out of there before the snow got a little too crazy. But it's really, truly, I'm super honored that you got on here and you shared, and you share your heart, and there's so much care in you, Lon. And I'm just like, I'm so proud of you, and I feel like how big your heart is, and like, thank you. And when you say, like, when you just told me the story, I saw the connection between Breathe With Me, and I see that. I just, like, I see an image of you saying, hey guys, I'm here for you, I'm breathing with you, like, I have your hand, I'm holding you, and I'm breathing with you. And it's a truly beautiful message, and I'm just really blessed that you are here talking and sharing your stories. And I hope that we hear more of you soon. And yeah, maybe we'll hop on in like 6 months, and we'll be like, so what's new? Yeah, so thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you more on Transmutation Proclamation, and also on the feed, and we have each other's numbers and all that great stuff. So,
All right, Laura.
Nope. My phone's like, okay, bye. All right, well, take care, Lonnie.
All right, you too. Thank you, Laura.
Bye.